We're on the upper edges of Kielder Forest, which is a large planted forest in Northumberland. We have an area of land that will give us the opportunity to create this woodland that goes from right down in the valley bottom right up onto the high ground on the ridge. Because it's within the forest, it's protected from livestock grazing, so it's out of the way of farming and gives us the opportunity to create this in a wild environment.
You can call it ecological restoration, you can call it rewilding if you like, but it's certainly trying to let people see in the future what the natural vegetation would have been like, more or less, if humans hadn't intervened in such a sort of dramatic way over the centuries.
If you went back 10,000 years, then we would just be coming to the end of the Ice Age, and tree species colonised the land after the retreat of the ice, and the first trees to colonise were ones that can seed quite quickly, so birch and rowan and also pine. Most of Britain would have been covered in natural forest. And then about 6,000 years ago, human beings were changing from hunter-gatherers to agriculture, and they wanted to clear the forest so they had space for grazing animals and growing crops. And really that forest clearance just carried on over the years beyond that. And by 1900, we were down to, I think, about 4% forest cover, so very little forest in Britain. The Kielder Wildwood project is about recreating some native woodland from the valley bottom right up to the high ground. We're looking at a handful of very old pine trees here, and we have looked at the date of these, and they're at least 150 years old.
Looking at studies and from pollen analysis, we think that the Scots pine that are present predate Kielder Forest and therefore have either arrived there on their own accord or have always been present. So that makes these trees very rare.
Until recently it was thought that they'd all been eliminated, but this group are possibly the only survivors. And if so, they are of very considerable historical, ecological interest.
If we can collect the cones from the pine trees here, extract the seed, grow seedlings and plant them out, then that would contribute to this native woodland that we're planning to create. Not just with Scots pine, but with birch and willow and aspen and alder and a whole range of native species.
What we hope this project will be able to do is to not just create new Scots pines, but actually a whole range of different species that would have been associated with this kind of habitat so many years ago.
We've planted a small trial area, about 2 hectares, and that mostly consists of alder trees and downy birch trees. Northumberland has a very low percentage of native woodland cover as it is. And we have to start somewhere in reversing that decline of native broadleaf woodlands by planting and giving nature a helping hand and to get started again. The biodiversity, for example, for birds will increase. So we're very interested and excited to see what's going to happen over time.
What we need is a whole variety of woodland. Part of that is new wildwoods, which are really there for their wildlife conservation benefit, and it's been fantastic to be involved in creating a forest, a landscape that's going to be there for generations to come.